The following is a presentation of Muddy River Sports.
Well, it's spring. It's the middle of spring, but we're talking football today on Schuck on a Truck, brought to you by Schottenkirk Toyota. I'm Muddy River Sports editor Matt Schuckman, and the spring football is about to wrap up for the Quincy University Hawks, and this guy's worked his butt off this spring along with the rest of the Hawks. Senior safety, Joe Webb, thanks for joining me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How's the spring going?
It's going great, you know. Elephant in the room, new coach.
Yeah, right.
It's going well.
Yeah.
Going real great. Guys love him, and definitely brings a different expectation. You know? Makes us rise to the occasion.
Okay, you guys have gone through, I think, 13 practices as we record this, 13 practices of the 15.
Yes, sir.
Going to wrap up this Saturday with the non-traditional, no spring game.
Yes, sir.
Are you good with that? Like not having that standard, we're going to wrap it up with a spring game type of thing?
I think definitely different.
Yeah.
I'm going on this will be my 5th year of school. That's crazy to say. But this will be my 5th year of school.
Right.
Like, this will be my first time really not having a spring game.
Okay.
But I think in seeing them and how they've gone, like all it takes is one mishap. And then now you were banking on having a guy.
Right.
And then next thing you know, you don't have him in the fall, or you get him for half the fall.
Yeah.
You know? So maybe right now it may seem like, I wish we could have more. But on the back end, I think it'll pay dividends.
Well, and I think, and Jason Kilday, the new head coach, and I have had this conversation. I don't know if you get a ton out of a spring game because it's usually controlled. Mm-hmm. It's some situational, but maybe you get more out of a practice where you're going through, as we talked earlier off camera, about installs and making sure you're doing all those little details right, not just coming out here and having fun today.
Right. Yes, sir.
And I think that's where you guys are at. You need to continue to do those little things to get better at them.
Yes, sir. And it's like, and to that point, like, where you're just having a spring game. If you don't have everything installed, or we can't even run a decent amount of our plays correctly, where we want to put a good product out there.
Yeah.
He talks about that all the time, putting the best product out there.
Yep.
And if we have a somewhat kind of good product and just throw it out there, that's not a good representation of what the season could look like.
You're not going to excite people to get ready for the fall.
Exactly.
So what has been your biggest takeaway from the spring so far? What have you been most impressed with?
I've been most impressed with just the discipline of a lot of the guys.
Okay.
You know, it's definitely there's guys that have completely made a 180 with their attention to detail.
Okay.
You know, because we're called upon to have it spot on.
Yeah.
It's like Kilday asked for 2 things: great effort and knowing what you're doing.
Okay.
So if you do those 2 things, you're solid. You know.
You're right.
Like, and even if the guy that maybe doesn't play all that much does those 2 things in whatever it may be, special teams, you know, just understanding that there's rewards for that. Even though it may not seem like a big role, there's a role nonetheless. So.
How difficult has that transition been, and that demanding of attention to detail? Not that Coach Bass and his staff didn't have that, but it's a new coach. It's a different level of determination, a different level of expectation. Have guys adapted to that?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
And I'll say the yes part first, because the guys who, and we talked about this in the D staff meeting as well as the team meetings.
Right.
And just understanding that when you raise the tide, like you either sink or you swim.
Yeah.
You know, like the ships that can sail at that high tide will thrive.
Yep.
And the ones that can't will wash away, right?
Makes sense.
So the yes part of it is the guys who are able to put up with the high demand of doing what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do it, how you're supposed to do it, have thrived.
Okay.
And on the flip side of that, the guys who maybe can't get that done or are still having trouble coming along with that are falling away, and that's just the nature of the beast.
For you guys that are thriving,
Yes, sir.
yourself included as one of the captains, are you trying to pull those guys along and try to get them to see this is why we're doing it?
Yes, sir. And then even more so now this year, just try not to just be like, I lead by example.
Yeah.
You know, and speaking out more. Like, if this is, you're supposed to be doing this, why aren't you doing it?
Yeah, makes sense.
And let's get it done, because it's either you don't know what you're doing or you don't care.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we're past guys not knowing what they're doing.
Right.
So now it's to a point of you don't care. So why don't you care?
Yeah.
You know, and understanding that if you don't, we can't use you.
Well, because early in the winter semester, January, February, you guys are back on campus, and before spring gets here, you're learning. You're learning him. You're learning what his expectations are, what style of play he wants. First couple practices, okay, we're learning.
Right.
By practice 13, you better know.
You better know.
And I think what I've gathered of being at practice is guys know, and guys want to play hard. The guys want to get better.
Yes, sir.
Is that true? Am I grasping that correctly?
Yes, sir. Yes, and it's just trying to like we keep talking about this practice 13.
Yeah.
So trying to not succumb to the mundaneness of practicing 13 times without seeing anybody else.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest struggle. Like wanting to get better, but overcoming the mental drag and maybe physical drag that comes along with that.
Is there something that has concerned you though, as spring has worn on? Like something you go, man, we got until August, but we got to get better at this when we get back here in August.
Just the consistency
of
how we do. We have like really big spurts of like, okay, like as a team, we look really solid. We're doing what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And then there might be a dive off, whether it be energy or just execution, whatever it may be.
Right.
Just being able to stay here with it, or even here with it, but not taking any dips.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yes, sir.
This is Schuck on a Truck, brought to you by Schuck Toyota. If you want a truck or another kind of vehicle, head out to Schuck. They'll take care of you. Tell Aaron Peters I sent you. You need a vehicle?
I'll take one.
The NIL isn't quite as big at Quincy University as it is other places.
I think it's making its way down, but we'll see. We'll see.
But again, you're at the back end of your college career.
Yes, sir.
How much have you enjoyed your time here in Quincy?
Oh, I've loved it. It's given me an opportunity to lead guys, and I've always seen myself as a leader of men, but being able to do that not only in sports but just in life in general, I think has been an awesome experience. And I get to play football.
There you go.
So
done better, right?
Yes, sir.
Now you and I were talking off camera though that you have a podcast.
Yes, sir.
Is it an on-campus podcast? Like where can people find it where are you reaching out to?
So we post mainly on YouTube, and then we have an Instagram and a TikTok as well.
Awesome.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what's your kind of podcast? What's the theme of your podcast?
So the name of it is the It Gets Better podcast, and it's mainly about just following Christ, what that means, what it looks like, and just the lifestyle and the goodness of and fullness of joy you receive when you give your life to Christ. So.
And when you get that smile going, everybody's having joy, right?
Yes, sir.
The girls tell you that? But when you have something to give to people, whether it's on the football field as a captain, whether it's through a podcast, whether it's serving on campus or whatever,
yes, sir.
You need to do that, don't you? You need to give back.
Yes, sir.
How important is that to you to give back in whatever way, shape, or form that is?
I think that's the ultimate, like, you talk about servant leadership.
Yeah.
But it's like, you can't lead if you're not willing to follow, So it's like, guys, when you ask them to do things, you would want them to see you doing those exact same things. So
right.
You're not just telling me there's something to do in vain. You know, like I say, hey, pick that trash up. It's like, they've seen me do it on multiple occasions. They've seen me hold the door for somebody on multiple occasions. They've seen just different stuff like that. Like, oh man, like, why does he do that? And they're like, a lot of the times it sparks up conversation too. Yeah. And so
that's neat. That's neat. Obviously, we're close to wrapping up the spring practice. That gives you guys a couple months before you're back here. August, getting ready for that season opener at Drake.
Yes, sir.
We've seen the schedule now. Does that get you excited when you see the schedule?
Oh, I'm super excited. Yeah. Especially that last game against Mo West. I'm from Kansas City, so that's like 30 minutes from the house. So friends, family, some people probably I even talked to in some years will probably do this.
So on that trip over to Mo West, are they just going to kind of section off a part of the stands, and this is the Joe Webb section?
I hope so.
Hopefully
cool. We got enough people to do that.
Yeah, that'd be kind of nice. But what do you guys need to accomplish between Saturday when spring practice ends and August when you report for fall practice? What has to happen in that window for you guys to keep progressing?
There can't be any drop off. So what we got through the spring, there can't be any attrition. No, there can't be any atrophy. There we go. There can't be any atrophy when it comes to that. So we learned it. We can't regress.
Yeah.
We have to then build upon what we made in the spring.
And everybody's got to continue working.
Yes,
It can't be, summer's here, I'm going to go chill by the side of the pool for another month.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. How hard have guys worked? Like, in that sense of weight room, working out on their own, making sure they're doing those things. How hard have guys worked this spring?
I think that the work put in has been tremendous.
Yeah.
Just from because when we first started working out, it was like, okay, we were kind of like the rhythm of, like, yes, we had a new coach.
Yeah.
And it's different because he was always in there.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. He was just been in there every day.
Okay.
So it's like guys had to turn that level of intensity up.
Yeah.
Like, especially we weren't even practicing when we first started lifting. So your intensity should always be there.
Right.
Regardless of who's in there, who's not in there.
Yeah.
But I think the level of work has been outstanding.
So Kilday's doing okay so far?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see.
Yes, sir.
Well, you gotta win games before we really judge him, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll leave that till the fall. I think he's going to do really well. That, a personal opinion, but I think he was a good hire. I hope you guys are adjusting to him, because I know that coaching change can always be tough.
Yes, sir.
No matter whether you like the guy or even with like Coach Bass and his staff.
Yes, sir.
No matter your opinion of them or how close you got to them, change is always tough.
Yes, sir.
But what I've seen at practice is you guys have embraced it.
Yes,
is that true? You guys have embraced change?
Yes, sir. And I think it comes from the top.
Yeah.
Like, we as captains, as older guys,
right,
we've received them well. So the guys are like, we believe in what he's doing. So it's either you fall in line with it, or once again we talk about you fall off.
Yeah. Well,
yes,
I don't think there's going to be a fall off. I'm excited for the fall.
Yes, sir.
I think a lot of people will be excited. We're in the parking lot here at QU Stadium recording this. So just over yonder is the football part of the stadium.
Yes, sir.
Could be rocking this fall.
Oh, we will be rocking.
Good. I hope so. I look forward to enjoy the rest of the spring. I know 2 practices left.
Yes, sir.
I really appreciate you jumping on the truck with me, and can't wait for the fall because I'm really looking forward to it.
Yes, sir.
All right. For Joe Webb, I'm Matt Schuckman. This has been another episode of Schuck on a Truck, brought to you by Shottenkirk Toyota.
Muddy River Sports. Our home, our sports.